Yep, the time has finally come. Is it possible to beat Kirby Planet Robobot without jumping? This is the fourth one of these videos I've done, the sixth if you count the guest star videos. As such, I'll keep the rules explanation brief. We are trying to beat the game without using the move jump/hover. If you want more detail as to what exactly that means, go ahead and watch one of the previous videos. Or heck, watch one of the previous videos just because. Alright, Area 1, Stage 1. Let's do this. Just like in our other challenges, copy abilities are the lifeblood of this challenge. Without them, we don't have jump replacements, and without jump replacements, we can't really do much to minimize jumping. Of course, we start the stage with no copy ability equipped, and it takes 5 jumps to get to the first one. There's not really anything we can do about these jumps. Luckily, after those jumps, we come across our first copy ability. Sword. Wait, that's not sword. It's spark? The copy ability Spark, for our purposes, is completely worthless. There are simply no moves that can be used as jump replacements at all here. Not even pathetically small situational ones. There is nothing. I really hope we get a better one soon. Okay, that was underwhelming. Clearly we need to get a different copy ability. The next one is 3 jumps away. That is where we encounter Cutter. While this one isn't as useless as Spark, it's still far from good or useful. This copy ability does give us the Cutter Dash, which is similar to the Spin Drill. Unfortunately, the move that has the capability to give us some height, Final Cutter, can only be used when standing right next to an enemy. Kind of ironic that the copy ability Kirby's Smash Bros. Recovery is drawn from is so useless in terms of jump replacements. So yeah, technically better than nothing, but not by much. Once again, we find ourselves in desperate search for another copy ability to replace our current one. It takes another 2 jumps to find one, and this time around, it's Sword. Now this is a good copy ability. With moves like the upward slash and drill stab, we finally have some mobility options. This has historically been our go-to basic all-around copy ability, and after those last 2 copy abilities, I do not think I have ever been happier to see it. Using our newfound jump replacements, the rest of Stage 1 can be beaten jumpless. This even includes getting the stage's one and only Code Cube. If you're unfamiliar with Code Cubes, they are essentially this game's version of Sunstones. You need to get a certain amount of them from the stages in the area to unlock that area's boss stage. As such, we'll definitely make it a point to be grabbing these whenever possible. Alright, with a sword in hand, what could Stage 2 possibly throw at us that could hope to challenge us? Not a random boss fight against some guy in a mech suit, that's for sure. Now piloting the mech, that might do it. Welcome to our first Robobot armor section. This game's equivalent to the super copy ability, the friend circle, the hypernova section. Unfortunately, just like all those other gimmicks, this one too is defined by stripping down your moveset. In this case, we are down to just basic movement and punching. Punching is of course not a jump replacement, so we aren't left with any real options other than jumping here. Now you may be thinking, not so fast. The Robobot armor can use copy abilities too. Surely some of those must have jump replacements. And yes, that's technically correct. However, the copy abilities are also heavily stripped down when in the mech. In fact, most of them have just one move beyond standard movement controls, and usually that one move is utterly useless as a jump replacement. And let me tell you, In this level specifically, there are no exceptions to that rule. That means we're left to beat this level with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 jumps. At the very least, we can get the first code cube without any extra jumps, so that's something. As we enter stage 3, the game finally decides to enable Amiibo support. In this game, what that means is that we can scan an Amiibo to get a copy ability related to that character. So for example, Link would give Sword, and Mario would give Fire. This could be huge, not just because it lets us shift to different copy abilities with better jump replacements mid-level, but also because it allows us to use copy abilities without jump replacements under some circumstances by switching to that copy ability exactly where it's needed, and then back to one with a jump replacement after we're done using it. Oh, and don't get your hopes up about this fixing Robobot armor sections going forward, as you can't actually use Amiibo while in Robobot armor. Now, how about Stage 3 itself? Well, it features these batteries quite heavily, which are essentially this game's version of keys. All the usual limitations of not being able to use our jump replacements while holding them apply here. Those limitations do lock us out of some extras like code cubes. Luckily, none of the batteries that are required to just baseline get through the stage require jumping. You know what does require jumping though? This hill that you have to get up in Robobot armor. That's what. Also, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but this boss fight requires jumping as well. Not these little dudes. They might have a screw on their head, but they can just be sawed to death. The big guy though, he requires a couple of jumps. In total, Stage 3 requires 8 jumps to get through. Stage 4 is then pretty easy to clear jumpless, in large part due to these climbable surfaces. It's even not all that difficult to grab the first 2 code cubes. The third one, however, is unreachable without engaging in an optional Robobot section. Yes, I said optional. A lot. Honestly, perhaps most instances of the Robobot armor in this game are in fact optional. Usually in such cases, there's something like a code cube that you can't get without using the Robobot armor, so it's not a totally free pass, but hey, I'll take it. The boss stage requires 4 code cubes to unlock, and what do you know, that's exactly how many we've collected. We aren't forced into a mech suit for this battle, so the boss fight is quite possible jumpless. Meaning that we are finishing Area 1 with 47 jumps. Now for Area 2. The first stage of Area 2 teaches us quite a few things. Firstly, this is the stage where I first internalized the convenience of Amiibo. It's just nice being able to just pop on a Donkey Kong Amiibo and boom, you have Fighter now. Speaking of which, Fighter is a very useful all-around copy ability. It's got a couple of great jump replacements in the form of the spin kick and especially the rising break, which I find to be much easier to use for infinite flights than the upward slash. It's also pretty good for fighting bosses in my opinion. This stage is also where we run into the most useful Robobot armor variants, Parasol. The usefulness of this armor variant is pretty self-evident. If we press and hold the B button, we fly. So basically, whenever we find ourselves in a Robobot section with Parasol available to us, we're using Parasol. It's just the best one. Back to the level. The second code cube is incredibly easy to get as it just requires hitting some switches. The third one is a bit trickier. The process starts by scanning a Yarn Yoshi Amiibo to get a very useful copy ability. Whip. Whip has one useful jump replacement, the Whip Tornado. It doesn't go super high, it can't fly, but it can move objects like batteries around, a feature that no other jump replacement can lay claim to. As such, if there is something like a battery that needs to be moved, Whip is going to be the go-to copy ability to move it. We then use Whip's unique skill set to bring a battery up a flight of stairs to a teleporter thing. That then gives us access to this room, in which we can once again use our Whip abilities, this time to get the code cube. Unfortunately, that leaves us trapped as the Whip Tornado doesn't quite go high enough to get us back to the door. My answer to this challenge was scanning a Link amiibo to get Sword, which has no issue escaping from this room, and finishing the level. Stage 2 almost immediately gives us a mandatory Robobot armor. This requires us to add 1 jump to our total. After that jump, we get to scan an enemy and get the Jet Robobot mode, which essentially turns the game into a shoot 'em up. As such, there are no further jumps in this level, and we can actually get every single code cube here as well. Stage 3 has these orbiting electric ball things, which are a bit tricky since our jump replacement's jump arcs are generally pretty inflexible. That being said, the level isn't of much difficulty and allows Sword and Fighter to get through it without much issue, all while getting the first and third code cubes. Stage 4 was the first setting of my redemption as it pertains to a certain copy ability that I failed to utilize to its full extent last time. Circus. Circus has 2 main jump replacements for us to use. They are the Fire Hoop Jump and Trampoline. The Fire Hoop Jump can be easily activated at the drop of a hat and gives a relatively low, fixed jump arc. Trampoline, on the other hand, gives a high, very flexible jump arc, and even access to what essentially amounts to a double jump. We can't fly with it, but it does have the rare ability of allowing a lot of height without requiring horizontal movement, which certainly gives it a place in our arsenal. As for the stage itself, these dice are annoying as they destroy your copy ability on contact, and there's a fair amount of bottomless pits, which become a whole lot scarier when you lack the ability to fly. The most concerning obstacle, though, is this Robot Kirby, which you're supposed to guide through the background to help you get through the level. The tough part is that this Robo Kirby has the moveset of a copy ability free Kirby, and therefore has no jump replacements. If we want to guide this Kirby, then we have to jump. Luckily, we don't have to guide this Robo Kirby. Yeah, it may not be entirely obvious, but you can just trampoline over this wall no problem, and ignore the Robo Kirby entirely. So there we go, stage 4 beaten, and with the second code cube acquired too. Speaking of code cubes, it takes 5 to unlock the boss stage, and we have 8. Not bad. The boss itself was no problem. In fact, I actually used it as a chance to experiment with another copy ability. Smash Bros. You can get the Smash Bros copy ability by scanning the Smash Bros series Kirby amiibo. So, is it any good for us? Somewhat. We obtained 2 main jump replacements here. The Final Cutter and the Smash Kick. As far as the Final Cutter goes, it exists. It's honestly not all that good, as you can barely get any horizontal movement out of it, which makes it, at best, finicky to use under most circumstances. The Smash Kick is actually pretty good as a horizontally focused jump replacement. One thing I like about it is that you can charge it to adjust how far it travels, which is a nice quality of life feature. Overall, it's really not the best ability for navigating levels, but it sure can do damage against bosses. Welcome to Area 3. Stage 1 goes by quite easily, albeit without grabbing any code cubes. Then Stage 2 hits us with another mandatory Robobot section. This time, as a car. Now, as a car, you can do this by pressing up on the D-pad. And while it's not a jump, it's also only useful for switching between layers, so we can't really use it as a jump replacement. Anyway, getting through this stage requires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps. It could have been worse, but hey, we were also able to collect the code cube without adding any more jumps. There's not much to report on in stage 3, other than the fact that we got the first and third code cubes. The first code cube in stage 4 is laughably easy to get. The second one, not so much. This is another instance of amiibos being incredibly useful. What I did was use ice, which I had just acquired, to make the lava a suitable platform. Then I used a Link Amiibo to get Sword, which I used to nab the battery. Unfortunately, on my way out, I hit my head on the lava above and got knocked back down into my fiery prison. No matter though, as I was then able to scan the Kirby Amiibo to get the Smash Bros. Copy ability, which then enabled me to use the Smash Kick to escape. With that obstacle defeated, the rest of the stage went by mostly without incident. The vast majority of Stage 5 takes place underwater, and thus was not a problem to complete jumpless, as you can't jump underwater. And because of all the water, I was able to scan a King DDD Amiibo and use the hammer ability to get a code cube locked behind a set of logs. Everything went so smoothly here that we were able to get all 3 code cubes in the stage. That puts us at 8 code cubes collected in Area 3, which is a bit more than the 6 required to fight the boss. Susie is not a difficult boss to beat jumpless, and so we're ready to go to Area 4. Stage 1 was overall not too difficult to beat jumpless, all while obtaining the 2nd code cube. This bottleneck here was very difficult to get through using Fighter, so I scanned my Link Amiibo and used Sword instead. Stage 2 was also no issue, this time with 2 code cubes though. Conveyor belts that held items made Stage 3 considerably trickier than the previous 2. It's still possible jumpless, not easy though. Even the 1 code cube I got was a bit of a timed struggle juggling batteries and Amiibo. Stage 4 is another shoot-'em-up level, and this time there are no jumps required to get to the shoot-'em-up section. Yay! Oh, by the way, we also got all 3 code cubes from the stage. Beating Stage 5 is trivial. However, we have to ignore every avenue of acquiring code cubes in this level, resulting in us not receiving a single one from Stage 5. It's fine though, because we already had 7 from the previous stages, which is 1 more than the 6 required to duel the area's boss, Mecha Knight, which requires jumping exactly 0 times. Stage 1 of Area 5 went alright. In spite of my best efforts, I was only able to get the 2nd code cube in the level. That being said, what could be done was fairly easy. The first code cube in Stage 2 isn't super easy to get. You need to use Whip to quickly get this battery to safety. Then after that, you'll need to use an Amiibo to get a copy ability that can get you up the following ledge. Stage 3 allows us to get its 1st and 3rd code cubes fairly painlessly. Then Stage 4 decides to be another car level. A car level with 1, 2, 3 jumps. Not even a code cube that doesn't require any extra jumps. Stage 5 is not too difficult to get through, however merely getting through the level is not good enough. We are currently 1 code cube short of the 7 we need to unlock the boss stage of this area. Therefore we must leave this stage with at least 1 code cube. And with one of them requiring the use of a held laser, another involving the use of a copy ability with no jump replacements, and the last having us use Robobot armor, there really doesn't seem like a good option available here. Of these, I guess the least impossible sounding is the 2nd one. Let's give it a shot. Entering the room with the code cube is simple enough. We just need to scan a King DDD Amiibo to get the hammer copy ability, pound in the stump, and then we're in. This is where things get interesting. Stump 1 easily pounded. I don't care what conventional wisdom would tell you, but Stump 2 is hammerable from the bottom. Now we scan Donkey Kong to get the fighter cop ability, which we immediately use to get up to the next stump. Now it's Amiibo time again. We scan a different King DDD Amiibo to regain hammer, which we then use to pound this stump and the next one. There's just 1 more left, but I'm out of King DDD Amiibos. Time to bring in Kirby. Now we scan the Kirby Amiibo from the Kirby series of Amiibo, which grants us UFO. We then fly up right next to the last stump and scan Smash Bros. Kirby, which has an aerial hammer attack. And finally, we get the code cube with a couple of final cutters. That is how we get the last code cube we need from this area, thus allowing us to fight the boss and move on to Area 6 with a total of 57 jumps thus far. Here, Stage 1 is no issue. We even managed to get all 3 code cubes without jumping. Stage 2 has this tilt gondola section. If you watch the Triple Deluxe video, then you'll know that we can't use tilt gondolas. Luckily, avoidance of it is possible, but these orbiting electric balls sure don't make it easy. Ultimately, we walk out of here with the stage's 3rd code cube. Stage 3 is a nearly pure mech experience. As such, it has a few unavoidable jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, to be precise. Stage 4 is generally not too difficult, although this last screen can be a bit difficult if you're not ready for it. Definitely possible though. Possible getting 2 code cubes, in fact. Then, Stage 5 is once again all about the mechs, resulting in a stage that causes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 jumps. And that's the number while discovering Parasol about halfway through. Unfortunately, the design of the level didn't allow us to keep it from that point forward. Even so, the level's final 2 code cubes are somehow accessible without any more jumps than would otherwise be required to beat the level. That leaves us with 8 code cubes, 1 more than the 7 required to advance to the final level. We'll be entering that level with 117 jumps. Let's hope at the very least we don't add any more. This level has bosses and a shoot 'em up section, neither of which have historically been a huge issue for us, and they aren't in this case either. Even entering a Robobot armor and putting the screws to Stardream doesn't cause any more jumps. So, is it possible to beat Kirby Planet Robobot without jumping? Unfortunately, no. Things like Amiibos and the mechs being optional so often certainly helped, but ultimately we are still entering with a jump counter higher than 0. But is the number really what matters? Or is what truly matters the journey that brought us to that number? The struggles that ended with us overcoming obstacles that didn't initially seem surmountable. The pain of coming across a roadblock that, despite your best efforts, cannot be bested. The joy of finding tactics that are so good they almost seem unfair. And of course, in my specific case, the journey I've been able to bring all of you on with me in these, hopefully, entertaining videos. So yeah, we are now, at the very least, at the end of an era for Kirby No Jump videos. We have played every one of the mainline modern Kirby games now. And honestly, I'm not quite sure what we do next with Kirby. Perhaps looking at doing something with the older games? Maybe taking a look at some spin-offs? Perhaps continuing on with No Jump in some of the extra modes, like the guest star videos that we had already been doing. But there's one thing I do know, and that is that I would like as many of you there as possible. So if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing. Mainline modern Kirby No Jump may be finished, but this channel is not going anywhere. And if you've liked these Kirby videos, something tells me that you may enjoy some of the other stuff that is currently on the channel and will be on the channel. Of course, if you have any suggestions, Kirby related or otherwise, for what to do next, I would love to hear them in the comments. And if you like this video, a literal like would be appreciated, and if you haven't seen the other 3 main Kirby No Jump videos, watch them. It's more of this, and it's a great time. But anyways guys, until next time, I've been CMeeCraft, now on the search for a new video topic to dive into. See you then.